Just had a half a burrito at one of my favorite Mexican restaurants in Lincoln Square, Chicago. It's called the Garcias. Here, I'll show you a sign. Yeah, this is Lincoln Square. That place wasn't here when I lived here. It came, I think, the year I moved away from this neighborhood. Moved to a little more affordable place at that time because my ex was struggling to keep a job or be a good person to me in any way. Sorry, I didn't really need to add that piece anyway. But sometimes I do, just for my own sanity. Maybe it's a little catty, but it helps me to acknowledge all the traumas that I've had when some of them were inherited from other people by not having chosen a stable partner who can pull half their weight or even pull part of their, pull half their weight. They can't even pull half their weight. They couldn't pull any of their own weight. And if you choose a person who can't pull their whole weight or even part of their weight, then you're going to pull it. And if you are not a super strong person who can handle pulling double the weight, like I think a lot of parents are really good at pulling double or triple weight because they pull the weight for their children. But children have rules that they have to follow and you get to set them. So picking adults to pull the weight for them when they're grown-ass adults is in a way harder than having children. It's like choosing to have adult children. Man babies, as some people would say, but it's not always men. There are people everywhere who are dysfunctional and want to leech off of other people. And some of it's, or all of it, is probably trauma. And I have definitely taken advantage of other people's kindness as well, including some people very close to me. And so trauma is kind of like a ripple in the ocean. Because if you're choosing dysfunctional people and then their trauma is traumatizing you, then other people have to rescue you from the trauma that you now have inherited by having chosen to surround yourself with traumatized people. And not all traumatized people actively traumatize others, but a lot of them do. And some of them do very intentionally, and that's what I kept choosing. Because now what I've found in the world is that there are plenty of people who were traumatized, but they, like a compass, work very hard not to traumatize others. It's like a compass. They did the opposite of what their abusers or traumatizers did to them. They do the opposite. They use it as a compass of, oh, I didn't like that. That's not the right way to treat someone. And then they work hard to not treat people that way. And those are the people I try to have in my life now. Anyway, that's my favorite bookstore. Got a mocha there a little bit ago. They used to have this like hummus plate with grapes, and when I used to live here, I would always get it. But I drove 3 hours and got there and just didn't even realize how bad COVID still is, I guess. It's like I knew, even though there's a vaccine, especially in a big city, there's still even more precautions than in my tiny little Michigan town, which is tourism based, and so maybe a tourism based town just kind of had to open a little sooner. And I think my sister lives in a tourist town, and so she's used to things being more open. And anyway, well, this has been my little day trip to Chicago to help myself realize that our move to St. Joseph will be basically so I can still have my old life in my now life, in my future life. And if I can really see a place as all things or just not one thing, I think I'm going to be a lot happier and feel a lot more like myself. Getting to have all the things I've ever loved within, a 2-hour or less drive. Or a train ride. Being off the Amtrak will be nice as well. And it feels silly to have driven so far just to hang out here for a few hours, but I don't really believe in logic. I believe in feeling your way in the dark, because who you are and what you need It doesn't have to make any sense to anyone but you, and it doesn't even have to make sense to you. Because I don't know why I need big cities, but I've loved big cities since I was a child. And maybe it's partly because I needed to find this version of myself that can just YouTube in public. Maybe I thought I needed a big city to learn that, the anonymity of a city, but I actually learned it in small town Michigan, Grand Haven, Michigan. So who knows what we need. My heart will always love Grand Haven too. Well, I'm not even really leaving that. I'm gonna have a place that's very similar to Grand Haven where we're moving to. So I don't want to be selfish in this life. I don't want to choose things that only I need. I want to pay attention to the needs of those I love. Ah, the train! I missed the train! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be near here again. If I were single, I'd live in a city. Not to be like a party girl. I see myself as like some old woman writer just sitting at a coffee shop in a patio. But I have a love of my life, and he wants a dog and a yard and a house, and it's going to be so much cheaper for us to live in a small town a couple hours outside the city, or an hour and a half really. So that's exciting. Anyway, here's my little Chicago update. I miss you, Chicago. Learning to accept the fact that I may just be a person who keeps saying Chicago, 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 but I'm really just talking about one block in Chicago or one little neighborhood where I used to live. And that's okay. We don't have to have big dreams. We don't have to love all things equally. You can just love one little block in Chicago, or maybe two, maybe three. Okay, bye.